Considering that I got especially pissed off in that Joe Biden story where he blamed Donald Trump for inciting the murder and execution of his own supporter, I thought I'd follow this up with some very, very good news. And in Oregon, Clatsop County, they are voting on making the entire county a Second Amendment sanctuary. This is awesome, and we need to be doing this all over the place because I believe that the term shall not be infringed is pretty clear. But a lot of municipal and state governments do not believe so, and even our federal government. So, let's go ahead and check this story out. This is from the AP, U.S. News here. County voters to decide on Second Amendment sanctuary status. A measure on the November ballot will ask voters in a northwestern Oregon county whether it should be a Second Amendment sanctuary. Yes, it should. Come on, Clatsop. Do it, do it, do it. Pass this bill. All right, a measure on the November ballot will ask voters in a northwestern Oregon county whether it should be a Second Amendment sanctuary. Voters in Clatsop County will decide whether to prohibit county resources from being used to enforce local, state, and federal law or regulation that restricts the right to keep and bear firearms, accessories, or ammunition, the historian reported. And from what I hear, this is the broadest reaching Second Amendment sanctuary bill that we've seen yet. And when it talks about enforced local state, or federal law, I'm assuming that's going to include the 1934 National Firearms Act, which makes it very, very difficult to get things like silencers, suppressors, and other various weaponry. So fully automatic sounds like it would be totally legal here. 50 caliber machine guns, totally legal. I don't know whether it applies to things like hand grenades and RPGs, although I would fully support it if it did. In fact, I think that we should have any weapons that we should be able, that the government can have. If the point of the Second Amendment is to keep tyranny in check, then we as the populace need to be just as armed as the military, or at least have the capacity and the ability to be just as armed as the military. So I have no problem with people being able to own things like RPGs, and I understand people would say, "Oh, well, what about the crazies? What if the crazies get something or get a RPG and they want to do something crazy because they're crazies?" Well, they're going to be doing it on a very large group of armed citizens, so likely they would not. Just imagine if you are in a room full of armed people. And you walk in with an RPG and you got to put it over your shoulder, aim, do all that stuff. I got a feeling your body's going to hit the floor before you even get that thing slung over your shoulder. So I am all for the legalization of weaponry. I don't know whether that goes to, like I said, don't know whether it goes towards hand grenades and RPGs, but it certainly goes to any guns, which, again, shall not be infringed, and especially with all of the riots. And what I find really interesting about Clatsop County, I haven't looked it up on a map, but it is northwest Oregon, which you would think would be right on that road between Portland and Seattle. So you can imagine how many of these protesters going back and forth between Portland and Seattle go through Clatsop County and might just find themselves on the wrong side of a Barrett 50 cal. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And also, so what it would also do, and I had two different articles. The one from the AP is on most sites, but there was another one that had some additional information, but I didn't really feel like bringing up multiple articles here. It was just a short little blurb. But it was also saying that concealed carry, open carry, would all be completely legal. You would not need any license to conceal carry. I'm all for that. It also would take away any fees and taxes that go towards or that are attributed to firearm ownership. So I know that's a big thing, especially with the 1934 NFA, the National Firearms Act, where you have to pay an inordinate. It's getting late. I can't talk. I've been talking since 6 o'clock nonstop, so I'm losing my voice here. An inordinate amount of taxes that you have to pay to get any NFA firearms. I mean, even things like, you can own a tank here in America. You can own a tank. You can own all these different things. But if they are registered under the NFA, you have to pay massive fees in order to own them. So I would love to see all of those taxes and fees go away. We should not be extorted by our government to exercise the rights that are enshrined to us in the Constitution. That's not right. That is immoral. So I am not, I'm not for, or I'm all for doing away with all those fees and taxes, doing away with having to have a license to carry concealed. If you should be able to just go into a store, own a gun, walk out with it. That's another thing. It'll take away wait periods. So here in California, you go to buy a gun, you got to wait at least 10 days. In fact, when I bought my 357 Magnum earlier, it took, I think, 16 days in order for it to clear because they were so backed up. And I started getting pissed off, and I knew it wasn't the store's fault, but the waiting period is 10 days. If you haven't gotten me cleared by 10 days, that's not on me. That's not on me. And we shouldn't have to wait 10 days anyways. I mean, what if you are a young woman, say you're a 20-year-old woman and you've got kind of a psychologically off-kiltered ex-boyfriend that is stalking you, and you file a what's the term I'm looking for? A restraining order. You file a restraining order, but he violates it, and he keeps harassing you, and he keeps bothering you, and he gets increasingly violent. And you say, okay, well, I think that I need to go get a gun because I'm getting scared of this crazy ex-boyfriend who is stalking me. So you go to the store to get your gun, and they tell you can't get it for 10 days. Meanwhile, 2 days later, that guy comes back and kills you. It's not good. And I always say that an armed society is a polite society. So I'm not worried about an excessive amount of guns on the streets. If everybody has guns, nobody's using them because they know that if you use it, then run up, get done up. That's how it happens. I'm from Georgia, and in Kennesaw, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta on the west side, they actually have a law that all homeowners must own a firearm. And now, of course, they don't enforce that law because they're not going to go door to door knocking to check and make sure that you have a gun. But they passed that law in 1983, and they didn't have a murder until I think it was 2015, a gun murder. So they went almost 30 years, or was it over 30 years? Yeah, they went over 30 years without having a single gun murder. And this is not a low population area. This is a high population, high density area that didn't have a single gun murder for decades because everybody knew that if you test somebody in Kennesaw, you're likely to get shot. And they have such a gun culture there that you just don't try it. And that's another thing. It's the whole concept of violence perceived is violence achieved. And, people would often ask me back when, they ask, oh, well, why do you need an AR-15? Well, I got a feeling that if I pull an AR-15 as opposed to a little .22 rifle, I've got less of a chance that I'm actually going to have to fire that weapon. Because people are going to see it and they're just going to say, yeah, I'm not messing with this. I'm not messing with this. Sorry, man, I'm going the other way. I won't come back. There is sort of a value and a safety value to having a more intimidating, more dangerous weapon. And of course, we got Joe Biden who says, come on, man, you don't need 30 rounds. Get yourself a double-barrel shotgun. Which, double barrel, he's talking about a break-barrel shotgun that gets 2 fucking rounds. Joe Biden, no. Not at all. Sorry, Joe Biden's going to get me pissed off again. All right, so let's continue with the story here. Jim Hoffman, a leader in the Clatsop County Republican Party, led the effort to collect over 1,100 signatures to qualify the measure for the ballot. Our founding fathers were very smart by the way they put that together, and we just want to make sure that we maintain our rights under the Constitution. Hoffman worked with Rob Taylor, a gun rights activist from Coos County and chairman of the Committee for the Preservation of the Second Amendment, to draft the measure. Taylor has worked on the Oregon Firearms Federation and the 10th Amendment Center to customize the Second Amendment sanctuary measure for use in counties throughout the state. It just gets better and better. I mean, if they put that throughout the state, yeah. We need to see more of this. If these liberal leftist cities can go and institute illegal immigration sanctuary cities, then we should be able to have a Second Amendment sanctuary city. There's no reason that they should be able to get away with it and we can't, especially since our rights that we're giving a sanctuary to are defined in our Constitution. So, Similar gun rights measures in 2016 were considered legally vulnerable, Taylor said, and so a new version was written. The measure was modeled after the immigration sanctuary laws that limit police cooperation with federal immigration agents. Yep, you know, and that's the big thing about the conservatives is we have always wanted to play by the rules that we believe in, not the rules that the left sets. And you have to understand, war is a two-sided thing, which politics is war. And so if you have a left that is going to set an entire double standard, set an entire they're going to break the rules, they're going to do whatever the hell they want, and we sit there and we're constrained to just what we believe is right, we are going to be at a disadvantage where we will lose. And we will lose everything that we believe in. So it's a fine line that you have to walk by not when in order to not sell out what you really believe in, but also to protect what it is you believe in. Because oftentimes we look at freedom as it's a paradox in which the enforcement and the protection of freedom violate or serves as a violation of its core tenets. And we got to figure out a way to get past that idea. And I think it really is becoming the death of libertarianism. Libertarianism cannot survive the far left because it does not have the will to do so. And so far, conservatism has been too informed by libertarianism to fight back and to actually defend the beliefs that we fight for or that we need to fight for. But I think under Trump, a lot of that has changed. And that is a very, very good thing. We need to be able to defend our freedom and understand that we can't be granting these rights to people who are going to use them to take advantage of our goodwill and then use them to take those very rights that we are in our goodwill bestowing upon them to take them away from us. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. So let's see. Taylor said the goal is to help turn every county in Oregon into a Second Amendment sanctuary. Yes, love it, love it, love it, love it. The progress is tracked on a website called Sanctuary Ordinance. Martin Letourneau, a Seaside resident and retired federal employee, said he intends to campaign against the measure. Of course a Frenchman would. Somebody with a French last name. Martin Letourneau is going to fight against the Second Amendment. Sorry, I'm being a jackass, I know. And my impressions are for shit, but whatever. It's late, and I've been going for a while here. So, a retired federal employee. What is? I mean, you could work for the post office and be a federal employee, right? I mean, what does that mean? Retired federal employee said he intends to campaign against the measure. He is involved with Indivisible North Coast Oregon's South County group and has been attending the local Black Lives Matter protest. So he's a leftist. He wants to take your gun rights away. But he wants to be able to burn your damn cities down. And he doesn't want you to be able to defend yourself. So you can see clearly right here, that's the game. This stupid little Frenchman here, I don't know if he's really French or not, but you know the name. So this stupid little Frenchman here wants to take away your gun rights because he's afraid you're going to use them on him and his comrades when they're burning the cities down with Black Lives Matter riots. They're not protests. At some of the riots, counter protesters have openly displayed firearms. And yes, they should. We should have people going up and putting these people in check with guns because we're not just going to let them overrun our damn towns and our states. I support the Second Amendment, but I do not support the idea that everyone has the right to openly carry a loaded weapon anywhere that they want. Well, why the hell not? Why not? Martin Letourneau? Why do you not support that? Because if everybody is open carrying, nobody is pulling guns out lest they be shot themselves. That is human nature. That is the law. That is the natural order of how gun laws work. And everybody wants to talk about, oh, it was going to be the Wild West where everybody's shooting everybody. The Wild West was largely peaceful in towns because everybody was armed. It was outside of the towns where they were robbing stagecoaches and just out on the open frontier where the violence happened. It wasn't happening in town where everybody in the saloon had a damn six-shooter on their side. That's how everybody gets shot. And nobody wants that. Nobody. Let's see. So, I do not think that... Oh, okay, so he He doesn't think anyone has the right to open carry a loaded weapon anywhere they want. I do not think that is appropriate. Well, we don't really give a shit what you think is appropriate because we don't think it's appropriate that the people that you're going to protest with are burning down our cities and beating up anybody who is ideologically opposed to them. We don't find that appropriate. So you know what? You've gotten your way. Now we're going to take ours. All right. And I think that it is creating situations that will lead to, that will result in unnecessary injuries and deaths. Obviously, you don't understand human nature or you're just flat out a pussy. Wait, he's French, so yeah, the second one is probably, both of them are probably true, actually. Russ Mead, a Seaside resident and law professor at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, said Oregon has few gun laws. The laws that the legislature has agreed on, he said, are common sense restrictions like requiring background checks. You know what? We're tired of your common sense restrictions because to us, they're not common sense. They're just restrictions. They use the term common sense so that you don't question it and you feel like you are lacking common sense if you do question it. Well, guess what? If somebody says something is common, we believe in common sense restrictions, you need to question them outright. Say, what's common sense about it? And then get into it with them. And then you realize that they were gaslighting you and they were trying to take advantage of your goodwill because that is what leftists do. Anyways, guys, that's the video. I think this is awesome, awesome, awesome. I want to see this spread all over the country. See this sea to shining sea. Actually, what I'd really love to see is not to need Second Amendment sanctuary cities or counties or whatever it is. I would like to see more originalists put on the Supreme Court, which is going to be huge for getting Donald Trump reelected because we're going to get at least 2 more Supreme Court appointees in the next 4 years, I believe. At least one with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I think Stephen Breyer is going to be gone. There's going to be a number of appointees to the Supreme Court, and we need originalists so that they can actually take these Second Amendment cases. Because for a long time, the Supreme Court has not really placed a very high priority on Second Amendment cases. But we need to take them all, and we need to take every single case and rule on the side of the Second Amendment. In that case, we won't even need the sanctuary counties and cities anymore. But until then, I think it's great for the movement, and I think we need to push it forward. So anyways, guys, again, sorry, I guess I wasn't quite done with the video before, but that's the end of the video. Please like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this, get some movement behind this, and also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And also, if you would like to contribute to the channel, which would be greatly, greatly appreciated, there are links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal in the description below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.